potential sources so that when I give my comments, it's within the context of the full scale of what we're trying to do instead of just this one particular piece of 7,500.
Am I right in that?
So let me just address this. That's a great point. You're right, Mr. Mayor, because that is in the manager's report. So let me just address then the parts of the resolution that I have an issue with. First, I do prefer, since it's very limited money, especially this first round, until we talk about the second and potential third round that the manager is going to bring up later. Very little money that we have available. We're squeezing as much as we can from existing sources and reallocating them. But I would prefer that the residency requirement be 1 year instead of 90 days. And I'm sure there will be more than enough people here who've been here at least a year who need this help before those who may have just moved in. We want to try to get to as many people as we can. But I believe that a 1 year residency should take precedence over newer people. The second point is that when it comes to mortgages, and later we reference another city's condition on mortgages where that city chose not to use its city's funds to assist with mortgages that are backed by FHA. Obviously, I would want to do anything we can to stretch the money that we have, but I want to protect against the possibility, and I think Commissioner Bronson was alluding to this, is there's a difference between forbearance and forgiveness. And so if they are not paying rent in the month of May, and they're not paying rent in the month of June, by the time the moratorium on evictions is over and they're being required to pay rent, or by the time the 90-day moratorium with their mortgage company is over, and now a payment is due, there are mortgage companies who are asking for all three payments. And so we got to be careful that as we try to consider other factors like the CARES Act, that is one of the weaknesses of the CARES Act, in that it didn't compel mortgage companies to either forgive, or it didn't compel mortgage companies to split those payments up over the remainder of the loan. So it allows for mortgage companies to essentially demand 3 months of payment all at once. For residents who may be faced with that, I would hate to tell them no. So I'm not sure what the modification of leaving some well-deserving, highly needed residents out.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just so you know,
that was a motion. Did someone have a? That was a motion?
Just so you know, Mayor, I just want to mention payments are not going to be made to the individual. They're going to be paid to the utility company and to the landlord, not to the person. So I just want to make sure that's clear. I'm sure.
Wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. There is another point that has to do with another source, but if we're going to memorialize and approve this program, I got to bring it up now because it includes electric payments in the items that we will pay for. Correct, Mr. Manager?
Correct.
But FPL is giving some kind of FPL is giving some kind of
yeah, the same thing. They gave patience, I guess, that allows you to defer your payments for 90 days.
Right.
But again, in FPL's case, they may also reserve the right to ask for all 3 months at the same time when that's over with. But here's a bigger issue. The bigger issue is that when we consider the other two pots, there's another $7,500 and another potentially $30,000. There's going to be restrictions on those later pots where they are not going to pay for electric bills because the county is going to refer our residents to the county's program that pays for electric bills, the LIHEAP program. And so our question for this particular first set germane to this resolution is, do we allow this first 15 residents to have the advantage of having a light bill paid where the next 75 may not be allowed to have their light bill paid? Or do we just go ahead and decide now and take light bills out altogether and refer everybody, all 90 across all three funding sources, to the LIHEAP program, and we just pay for rent, mortgages, water, sewer, like that? So that is a question we need to answer before we resolve this resolution.
In addition to that, Vice Mayor, the county will not be paying for water and sewer and your solid waste.
Because they have another funding source for that, right?
Because they're not even considering that at all.
Okay.
It's an enterprise.
So,
yeah.
So the thing is, then you prioritize the distribution based upon the emergency, the immediate need, based upon whether the situation is an emergency situation or whether it's a situation that can be extended. So prioritizing is going to have to be the key. In other words, finding out, say if someone says that, okay, my lights are already off, or the eviction thing probably is still up in the air, but if they're in an emergency situation already, and then it's in the requirements, they should be prioritized. In other words, instead of just arbitrarily going through it, you have to do some prioritizing as it relates to the need and how urgent the need is at that. Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, the question at hand, I'm sorry, I think the question at hand is that, yes, we have residents. In this particular case, if all the funding sources that the manager is going to discuss later come through, we have up to 90 residents that can receive anywhere from $250 to $500. The question becomes, for those who have an emergency that's related to light bill, who pays for it? And the point of the county is that the county has an existing program that when we get to using their money, they're absolutely not going to pay for it, because they're going to say to our residents, they're going to say to us,
state where we basically be going back and forth and nothing's going to happen.
I agree.
So based upon this resolution right now, we can do addendum amendments or whatever the case might be, and moving forward, not only that, but finding out how it will be facilitated.
Okay.
But just making sure that it's on the table. All right. So any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Brunson?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorsett?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith? Passes.
Thank you. There are no ordinances, City Manager?
Yes, to follow up on what we're talking about additional funding for what I call TRU, Temporary Rent and Utilities Assistance Grant Program. I have 3 other opportunities to use some funding that we identified as sources to kind of double the amount if you agree to all 3 of them or select from them. The first one is Mother's Day event. We had budgeted for $2,500, which we canceled the program. And if we cancel the Father's Day program, also we have allocated $885. The third item will be to convert a couple of our upcoming community newspaper publications to online paper or email publications that would allow so we won't have
that may create even more. The manager's calculation assumes that we take the dollars left in child care, dollars left in the previous calculation, dollars left in child care, and dollars left in tree trimming, and it assumes that all 30,000 that we designated to give residents up to $3,000 for minor home repair is going to be utilized, except some of those projects have not started yet, and some of those projects may not be emergencies or safety or code violation concerns. And so my suggestion would be that amongst the minor home repair programs and the applications that have already started, we know it, but this is an emergency. And I would much rather give money to people to save them from being evicted and to pay light bills than I'm gonna just throw this thing out than to be fixing somebody's bathroom. So I love the minor home repair program, but to whatever extent we find projects that have not started and that are not safety, emergency, or code violations, we should take that money and reallocate it and add this to the temporary rent utility program. That would give us even more than $7,500 in phase 2. That's my suggestion.
And I think based upon what is being said, once, like we approved the item, a resolution will have to come back on what the manager is saying right now. Then instead of going into long discussions on it, put it into that resolution based upon what you just said and everything else that has been presented. Then we can actually go into a better discussion on it then when we'll know exactly how much we have.
I got it. So when you're ready, I'm prepared to make the motion when you're ready, Mr. Mayor.
All right, yeah. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
I will move that we allow for the manager to come forth with the phase 2 resolution of the TRU program that includes the reallocations that he's identified, the Mother's Day, Father's Day, and the 2 online newspapers, but also include a 4th identification of additional funds that can be reallocated from the minor home repair programs for projects that are not emergency or safety related.
As long, and it needs a second.
I know.
Anybody got a second?
So my point is that, again, the 3 sources that he's identified plus the 4th is go back and take a look at the minor home repair. If there are no safety related or emergency programs, take that money too.
Okay, no problem. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Burnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorsett?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Yes,
Motion passes.
madam.
Okay,
City
under the
manager.
same item, Mayor, if I may continue? Under the
Yes.
same item, as I indicated earlier, we received a letter from the county late yesterday regarding their approach, the new approach to CARES Act CDBG funds. Last time I mentioned to you, there are 3 options of us electing for them to run the program, and we refer people to them and draw down on our $60,000. This time they've changed the tone, and they're now saying it's either we go ahead and run the program with whatever process we want to, maybe this TRU program, but we have to comply with HUD guidelines, and it will be on the reimbursement basis. And if the HUD does not accept our process or approve our requirements or whatever else, they will not reimburse us. So that's the first option. The second option, which you only have 2 now, that they will use the funds that for all non-entitlement cities for 2 programs. They'll divide it into 2. 50% will be used for senior meals, and the second 50% would only be used for rental assistance program and utilities. The utilities portion will not be paid from that amount. They will have to apply to their county program that exists. It clearly states, and it's the second attachment to your memorandum, it does not have they do not have a program, which is they're referring to the Human Service Department. It does not have a program for water, sewer, garbage utility assistance. So I want to find out the pleasure of the commission. Should we decide to handle this ourselves, take the money and run the strategy ourselves for trying to follow OD guidelines, which is going to be tedious, and keep in mind, we will have to ask for reimbursement, and the guidelines, by the way, from OD that HUD is presenting will be presenting, because they keep throwing out guidelines in pieces. They have not submitted the full requirement. So, and then we'll have to ask for reimbursement, wait for them to review and reimburse us. Or we